guys. Sorry for the break here. Been doing a lot over the holidays and did a little bit of traveling. Had a lot of stuff going on with the family, so it's been a while since I've done a battle report. But after the New Year's, scheduled the game for round 4 of the Universal Battle Tournament. Was able to play against Snark Hunter, and so this is the report for that game. We got a shot here of the deployment. Our scenario is kill and pillage, so points for killing and also for controlling objectives. We've got 5 objectives on the board. I had a little bit of a game plan going into this, and I'm sorry for the red line on the picture there. I didn't quite fit in the label for his hunter. I forgot he was there, but everything else is labeled. And I think the only magic item he had in his list were the grenades on his hunter. I don't think he had anything else. So unless I'm forgetting something, what you see is what you get. This is my first time playing my Brotherhood list against another Brotherhood list, so I thought it would be a good test. And as you can see, he's got a lot of flyers, a lot of heavy hitting units, and then he's got the siege artillery sitting at the back. So I didn't go into this game with high hopes, but it turned out to be a really great game, and went back and forth several times. So I think this will be a good battle report. Definitely learned some hard lessons in this game that I hope not to repeat. But you can see his list. He's got 3 Order of the Forsaken Hordes, so 3 hordes of flying knights with Thunderous Charge 2, hitting on 3s, defense 5. They're just all around good units. And then he's got 2 of the Exemplar Forsakers, which are heavy-hitting flying monster heroes. And then he's got 3 Forsaken Beasts with breath attack, and 3 siege artillery. So looking at this list, honestly, it's not that creative, I would say, but he's going for the best units in the list and kind of maximizing on them, which is smart for a competitive list, and I knew it would be a real challenge. But yeah, it was an interesting list to play against. Like I said, I didn't go in with high hopes, but I'm happy with how my list did. So I've got my standard list, my 2 recon troops, then I've got 2 cavalry, 1 Order of the Abyssal Hunt with haste, Order of Redemption with strength, and then I've got my 2 regiments of Order of the Forsaken. I've got my 2 hordes of martyrs, which I absolutely love. This has quickly become my favorite infantry unit in the game, at least of the armies that I have played. They are just a fantastic unit, especially for the points cost. And we'll see some of that in this game and how they play. And then I've got my heroes. I've got my hunter on the right side with wings. He's just there to harass and hunt down the siege. I've got my redeemer with the onyx ring, lending inspiring to my infantry. And then I've got my exemplar forsaker amidst all my cavalry there. And then he's got armor for defense 6. So I went in with a game plan here, trying something a little bit different. It's still a denied flank deployment that I'm trying here, and I was lucky enough to catch him putting one of his hordes of knights on the right side of the board. We decided that the terrain piece in the center of the board would be entirely blocking. The game I played previously, we had the statue in the middle be blocking, but the rest of it was just difficult terrain. But in this game we played it height 4 blocking, so I knew I could use that piece of terrain to my advantage, to protect my flank hopefully. But there were some interesting choices made in the first couple of turns, so we'll see how that plays out. But the new thing I tried here was putting my martyrs stacked the way they are here. Normally I will put the martyrs next to each other as a strong center line and put the Order of Forsaken behind them, because they can fly and get into combat easily and see over them. And also the Order of the Forsaken have Valiant, which works like rallying for these villains, so it bumps up their nerve, which is one of the reasons I really love the martyrs. They're fearless, so they cannot be wavered, and their nerve is 22, I believe, maybe 23, can't remember now, for 190 points. Defense 4, melee 4, and they have regen 6, So regen 6 is not huge, but on a unit this size that has this high of nerve, they pretty much stand up to any charge that they get. I have yet for them to be broken in a single charge unless they were charged by several units, but any one unit hitting them has never broken them, which means that they'll usually get anywhere from a couple wounds upwards of 8 or 10 wounds, and then regen 6, on average, I get a couple of those wounds back, and it just helps them just that slight edge more to last all the longer. So they're really a fantastic unit. I put those Order of Forsaken near them to give them that valiant rallying effect and make them even better. At any rate, so this was what I was trying for my deployment. I put my Knights on the left side, my fast units on the left side, because they can get across quick, hopefully kill something, and then close the door and move to the right, while my Martyrs march up the center and hold the center line. And I stacked them like this because I was thinking that he might deploy, kind of more spread out and try to bring something around to my flank or my rear, and I can move forward with the green horde while turning the blue horde to face to the right and take on whatever comes that way. So this is our deployment. He won the role for picking sides and chose the top, and then he also won the role for taking the first turn, and he decides to take it. In a pillage game, straight pillage, it's tempting to take second turn when you win the role, but he's got shooting, I've got none, and it's not just pillage, it's kill and pillage. So he opts to take the first turn, and I think that was a smart choice. And so here we are in the first turn. I can see a strategy, and it's a good one. He's obviously leaving the siege artillery back. They've got a 48-inch range, and so can just lob shots from where they are. He's got his heroes spread across the line, which gives all his units inspiring. And the flying units are left back because they can move quickly. And his beasts move forward because they can take a charge, they can take a hit, and they also have breath attack, which is shorter range, so he wants to get them in range. And then anything I try to move up with, he's just going to counter with his flying hordes. Now, the one thing I was surprised about was the flying horde on the right side. I was a little bit worried he would move them straight 20 inches down and just face to the left and face my flank, because that would really cause me a dilemma in terms of which way do I go with my infantry now. It would divide my two martyr hordes. So when he moved behind the piece of terrain in the middle like this, I actually was glad to see that, because it meant I could just focus on moving up the middle, and I didn't have to worry about that side of the board. He could have outmaneuvered me, but I can also see what he's doing here, because he's got bait now for me to charge that beast in the center, and then he can countercharge. So, yeah, it was an interesting choice, but I can see why he did it. And we also have the objectives all on the left side, which again was part of my plan. I placed all my objectives over there. The one that's on the right side is one that he placed. And again, I knew I was just going to go in on one side, so I tried to place them all on the left side. And that's his turn one. So on my turn, I got aggressive, which is my usual mode. Turns out his beast in the center there was in charge range of both of my Forsaken regiments. So I charged them both in. One of them, the Eagles there, were in his flank, and the other one was in his front. I knew this was a little bit of a gamble, because if I don't kill it, then I'm a sitting duck. But I figured with a flank charge and a front charge from both of these regiments that I'd stand a good chance. Unfortunately, it wasn't in the dice, and I think I did do 10 wounds on him, but just rolled low for the nerve check, and so I think he was wavered. I can't remember. We'll see in the next slide, but at any rate, I didn't kill him, so my Eagles are stuck there with their rear arc exposed to his horde in the forest there, or at least the other horde that they're facing can charge them, and the Exemplar Forsaker. So that was unfortunate, but I don't think it was a horrible move or a bad way to go necessarily, because my other thought was, if I die, those units die, I've got my martyr hordes right behind them, and they can hit hard and stay in combat a long time. So that's what happened there. My stuff on the left side there, I just moved up my 2 recon troops to screen my knights. And I forgot to mention in the previous turn, I did take a little bit of shooting, but I think I only wound up with 1 wound. So my knights are being screened by my recon troops, and my Exemplar Forsaker flew to the right side of my Order of Redemption knights because I didn't want any of his flying units or anybody to get a flank charge on them. And he's got the armor, so he's defense 6, he can take a charge. Plus, anything he moves over there is going to land on that obstacle, probably. And so they'll be hindered. So I feel pretty good about this movement. See what happens in his turn 2. And you can see in his turn 2, things get pretty muddied up in the middle here. It started to get pretty difficult to move stuff around because it was so compact. Because of the way I deployed and how big our units are, it just got pretty tight. So just moving left to right here. He did not charge my Abyssal. Oh, that's right. I had a recon troop there that he charged with his Beast and his Hunter. Did a double charge and took out that recon troop. The Beast advanced and the Hunter pulled back. I was hoping he'd make a mistake and do it the other way around so that I could charge the Hunter and then overrun into the Beast, but he's too smart for that. His Exemplar Forsaker on the left there charged my Redemption Knights by himself. I thought that was a poor choice, and I think he said the same later on. There's no way that he's going to kill them on his own on a front charge just in one charge. They have too good a defense and too high a nerve for that. So now because he hit them, he does 5 wounds, so it's a good hit, but now he's just sitting there. So it was probably a poor choice. My Order of Redemption have regeneration and can hit back pretty hard. My recon troop took some shooting wounds, and he rolled a decent nerve check, so they're wavered, which is kind of a bummer. There's nothing left for them to screen, and so now they're just kind of in my way, and I can't move them forward to get out of the way. So that's unfortunate, but it's okay. I'd rather they just die next time. It seems to be the case, though, with these guys. He decides to go ahead and take a chance and charge my Exemplar Forsaker with his one of his hordes, even though he knows he's landing on the obstacle and is hindered. So because of hindered, he's -1 to hit, and they lose their Thunderous Charge. They don't have any crushing strength or anything, so he's hitting on 4s, wounding on 6s. So I only take 2 wounds, and I'm perfectly happy with that. In the center, let's see if I can recap all of this. Again, he takes his Exemplar Forsaker, one of the flying heroes, and does a single charge against a horde of martyrs. Again, there's really no hope of winning that. Maybe he's just trying to whittle them down and keep his inspiring in the middle of all his units. But he moves up the Beast behind that. The Beast, because he's a monster, he's height 4, and the horde that's right in front of him is only height 3. So I didn't even see this when he did the movement, but in shooting, he can actually see over all the units and shoot my Exemplar Redeemer in the middle. So he only managed 1 wound, so not a big deal. But then I think he rolled double 6s because it wavered me. So unfortunate there, but it's alright. He also moved up and charged both of my Forsaken regiments. Now, the middle horde of the Forsaken that he has got a flank charge on my Order of Forsaken that you don't see anymore, the ones that were facing up. So it was a really tight fit, but he was able to get in there just enough to get their flank. And so it totally annihilated them. That's obvious. But then my other regiment, the Eagles, who are still there, he did a double charge with the Beast and his Order of the Forsaken horde on the right. So I don't remember if it was just totally poor rolls or what happened here, but he only managed to do 6 wounds, and I had 1 wound previously, so 7 wounds total, and then he botched the nerve check, and so they're fine. Now what was tricky about this is because they're fine, his other horde in the middle, even though they won the combat and killed my other unit, they can't move anywhere. There's no space for them to move. They can't reface. They can't back up, they can't move forward, and those are the options. Now, we kind of looked at the rules, and we were trying to figure this out a little bit because it presents a problem. The rules say you have to back away until you're 1 inch away from any enemy units. And so at first he was wondering, do I slide all the way up and over to the side of the beast until I'm 1 inch away from everything, at least? And I thought, that just can't be right. And we looked through some of the other examples and other rules, and we just decided that's not right. They just have to sit there. And I think that was the correct thing to do. It's unfortunate for him because that means my martyr horde there is going to get a flank charge on them. But at any rate, that's what we decided. If you have some other understanding of that or know somewhere in the rules where it states more specifically, I would love to see a comment. But that's what we decided to do for this one. So I'm happy with that result, and that was pretty much it for his turn. I don't think the artillery did anything in this turn. So that's his turn 2. So now my turn 2, and I get some charges back here and get to take a few things out. On the left side, my Abyssal Hunt were actually in the side arc of his Exemplar Forsaker, the guy that had charged my knights. And so I couldn't quite fit both my units in against him. I debated on this. I was going to countercharge him with my Redemption Knights and then charge the beast with my Abyssal Hunt. But I was pretty sure if I did that, I would not kill the Forsaker, and I really just wanted him off the board. So I opted to take the Abyssal Hunt in his flank, and then the Order of Redemption Knights just had to sit there. They didn't have anywhere to go, because again, the recon troop in front of them was wavered, and so just kind of blocking me there. So the Abyssal Hunt did the work. They got the side charge, double attacks. They also gained Vicious against monsters. So they did plenty of wounds, rolled a solid nerve check and got rid of him, and then turned to face the beast. So Redemption stayed put, regenerated a wound. The recon troops stayed put. My Exemplar Forsaker countercharged the horde that came after him. They did 2 wounds when they charged me. I did 3 wounds back to them, so I'm winning that fight. They won't be hindered anymore, but Thunderous Charge is gone. And now they're kind of exposed in the center there, if I can turn stuff around. I did turn my blue Martyr Horde around. They didn't. So part of this deployment where I stacked them next to each other like that, it meant that the blue horde didn't really have anywhere to go because that center piece of terrain is blocking. So in hindsight, since he had moved the way he did, nothing was coming around my flank on the right side of the board, I probably should have hung them back a little bit so they could turn left and go over and support. That probably would have been a smarter choice, but I was wondering if one of my friend horde might fall and then they could come up behind it. But at any rate, they turned to the left. I did get the flank charge on the horde that he had in the middle with my green Martyr Horde, and that's 50 attacks, so plenty to get rid of them as well. Very happy with that result. Probably should have turned them to face to the left a little bit as well, but I was worried if I didn't do anything with his other Martyr Horde on the, or not Martyr Horde, excuse me, the Forsaken Horde on the right, that they would get a flank charge on me or something. So they just stayed put, and they've got the Beast and his Exemplar Forsaker in front of them. In the center, my Redeemer, I think he was wavered last turn, but he made his headstrong roll, or that was not what that marker meant. He charged the Beast that was in the middle, because the Beast already had 10 wounds on it. So he's pretty good on his own to at least do a couple of wounds. So he charged the Beast, did a few wounds, rolled a solid nerve check, got rid of it. Very happy with that as well. And then my surviving Forsaken Regiment countercharged his Forsaken Horde. And they only did 3 wounds, but at least got rid of the Thunderous Charge. My Hunter charged the Siege Artillery in the back there, but rolled poorly on the nerve. 3 wounds is good for him, but rolled poorly on the nerve and didn't get rid of it. So that's unfortunate. It can't shoot, but I don't want him tied up another turn while the other 2 Siege Artillery continue to shoot. At any rate, I'm pretty happy with this turn. At this point in the game, I thought, wow, that was a really good turn for me. I still have a lot of stuff left on the board, and I took out some key units. I took out an Exemplar Forsaker, I took out a Beast, and I took out one of his hordes all in one turn. That is super solid. I felt really good about this game at this point. So feeling good at the bottom of turn 2. But in his turn 3, things take a nasty turn, and I don't feel so good. So in the center, he countercharged my Forsaken with his Forsaken, took them out. They were already pretty wounded, so not a heavy task. And then he did some tricky things. He moved his surviving Exemplar Forsaker and the other horde of Forsaken and flew over my head and turned around. Now, I've played with flyers and against flyers some, but I still have some to learn, obviously. Allowing them to get behind me like this was really tough. But then something else happened that I didn't count on. He concentrated all of his shooting, the 2 breath attacks, and I think all 3 siege artillery, or at least 2 of them, could see my Redemption Knights that were in the middle there, behind my recon troop. He concentrated fire on all of them, from all his shooting on that one unit, and I think he did something like 14 or 15 wounds in one round of shooting. I think both the siege artillery hit and then his breath attacks from his beasts. And I think the grenades might have hit too from his character, the hunter on the horse. So, not much I could do about that. I mean, that's a lot of shooting on one unit. Unfortunately, that's my most expensive unit. With the Brew of Strength, I believe they're 280 or 290. So, strong unit. That's rough to lose, and they didn't get into any combat. Now, if any of you are Brotherhood players, I would love to hear your feedback on the Order of Redemption. I love the unit, or at least I love the concept of the unit, but it is a lot of points, and they tend to, if you're playing against an experienced player, they know how to negate a powerful unit. So either taking away and disordering them, taking away the Thunderous Charge, or concentrating shooting like this. I love them because they hit hard, they have regeneration, and they have inspiring. So inspiring on average costs 50 to 60 points if you just get a little peon character that all he does is inspire. That's usually 50 to 60 points. So the unit is 240 or 250, maybe a little bit more, I can't remember off the top of my head. But if you take away the 50 to 60 points for inspiring that they have, then they're only 200 points about. So, I don't know. I'm still a little bit torn on them. I really like the concept of the unit. I love that a unit has inspiring. And the regeneration and all that stuff is nice too. I've been giving them the Brew of Strength, and the thought process there is if they get tied up in a battle where they're going back and forth with a unit, they don't have a ton of staying power because of the Thunderous Charge, so I gave them the Crushing Strength to just bump them that one extra to help them if they get caught in a grind. But again, it's a lot of points in one unit, so I don't know, I'm still a little bit torn. The Snark has actually recommended to me try using 2 beasts, and you can see he obviously likes the Forsaken Beasts. And that's about the same points. If you have 2 beasts with breath attack, it would actually be less points than my 1 unit of redemption. At any rate, if you got some thoughts on that, please share them. But rough turn, I lose that unit, and then he flies around behind me. So in my turn, I'm going to have some really tough decisions to make, because I can't easily get away from where he can charge me now. Both his Horde and his Exemplar Forsaker. So good turn for him. Now I'm not feeling quite as strong as I did at the end of my turn. So as I say, I've got some tough decisions to make here, and they don't all work out for me. My Green Martyr Horde charges his Horde that he had up there in the middle, and they're up to the task. They do a good number of wounds to take him out. I was a little bit on the fence about this, about them charging by themselves. I crunched the numbers real quick, and it was just kind of a crapshoot whether they were going to take him out or not. And if I didn't take him out, then my rear arc would be exposed. So I took my hunter and charged them as well, just to add a few more wounds and make it a little more of a sure thing. I think this was a mistake. I should have trusted the martyrs to do the job, and if they didn't, just let it go. I should have charged the siege artillery because he still is hitting me with those, and I needed to take him out, and that's what the hunter's for anyway. I should have just kept him on task. But at any rate, I'm happy about the fact to take out another one of his hordes, and then I just turned the martyrs around. They're close to a couple of objectives. Another mistake I make, though, which we'll see in the next few turns, I forget that siege artillery or war machines can hold objectives. I forget that they're just units. The rule is that it's only units with individual or characters with individual that cannot hold an objective. So I was thinking my green martyr horde here can hold 2 objectives. They got a wide footprint. They just got to kind of shuffle in between the 2 points, and I've got 2 objectives, but I forgot that his siege artillery there can hold 1. At any rate, on the left side of the board is where things don't go well for me. I have to take some risks here. I've got things facing me from all directions. So between his beasts, his flying horde down behind me now, and his exemplar forsaker to the right, I really don't have anywhere to go. So I thought I'll take a few risks. Hopefully, with doing some of these charges, I'll take something out so I can turn around and not get a rear charge on me. But nothing works out that way. So my Abyssal Hunt charges the beast. It's the kind of creature they're made to kill, but they're tough. It's hard to take them out in one shot. So I charge, I do 8 wounds, it's a solid hit, but I believe the beast has a nerve of 15-17, so I wavered him but didn't kill him. It's great that I wavered him, but now my rear is exposed. On the other combat, I got my Exemplar Forsaker and my Blue Martyr Horde do a double charge on his beast. This one I really thought I was going to win. The Martyrs are hindered because they're on that obstacle, but it's a side charge, again 50 attacks plus the attacks from the Exemplar, and I don't remember if it's just poor roll. It probably wasn't poor, but I do 8 wounds. Again, I either wavered or just disordered him, and but now I'm a sitting duck again. So unfortunate, because now the 2 strongest units on the board are going to get rear charged. At least that's what I'm anticipating. So not much else to report here. With my recon troop, they were ignored last turn, so they got to charge his hunter. I was hoping it was a good placement of his hunter because he's blocking me from charging his artillery, which is what I would have liked to have done. But I was hoping I could do a few wounds, and one Exemplar Hunter doesn't have a huge nerve. I think it's 12-14, which is pretty strong for a character, but if I can do a few wounds, get a good roll, maybe I can at least waver him. But they just do 1 wound and disorder him. So on his turn, I really pay the price for having my rear arcs exposed. He does a double or triple charge on my Abyssal Hunt. His Exemplar Forsaker flew into their rear arc, and then his beast in the middle there charged in their side arc. That's just disaster. There's no way they can survive that. They're a hard-hitting unit, but they only have defense 4, whereas most cavalry have, or at least knights have defense 5. But even if they had defense 5, they're not going to survive that charge. So that's unfortunate, and then the other unfortunate one is his horde gets a rear charge on my Exemplar Forsaker. So triple attacks, it's like 50-some attacks, and he wasn't quite in the forest. It was pretty close, but he wasn't quite in the forest. If he was, that hindered might have saved my general, because again he's defense 6. So he would have been hitting on 4s and wounding on 6s. Even with triple attacks, he might have survived. But it's not the way it worked out. So they took him out as well. So now I'm kind of like, okay, what do I do now? his stuff is pretty beat up. I mean, I've got a few wounds on his Forsaker and on the Horde, and I've got 8 wounds on each of the beasts. So it doesn't take much to knock some of this stuff out, but I'm hurting at this point. And my one unit that's really in the combat here, the Blue Martyr Horde, are sitting on top of an obstacle. So whatever they do, they're going to be hindered. At any rate, at this point, in my mind, I'm thinking I really got to fight for a draw. By the end of turn 2, I thought I had this really going for me, and I was feeling strong about maybe even winning the game. But at this point, I'm really, just trying to think, how can I save this for a draw? And I don't accomplish much in my turn. I tried a double charge against his Horde. I took my Blue Martyrs and my Exemplar Redeemer, did a double charge, and rolled decently. I mean, this is about average, especially since my Martyrs are hindered. So I do like 7 or 8 wounds, but don't roll well enough on the nerve. I think I needed a 7, which is within grasp. Maybe it's a 9. But at any rate, I don't get it, which is unfortunate. My recon troop was wavered again for taking a few wounds from his hunter or shooting, I can't remember what. And my green horde of martyrs, again, I had it in my mind that the artillery can't hold the objective, so I'm thinking, I'm sweet. I can just sit here. Anything he decides to fly over and charge me, I could probably take a round or 2 of charge and just hold these objectives. So, poor decision. I should have just turned them around and killed that other siege. Or, better yet, I should have used my hunter to kill that siege. Instead, I flew my hunter over to go after the other 2 siege artillery. Not sure why I did that, to be honest. It ends up paying off in the next couple rounds. You'll see why. But not a very awe-inspiring turn for me in this turn. And then something really crazy happens in his turn. And this again is why I love these martyrs. Now, the dice were not with him. This was really poor rolling. Just really, really bad. But it's the martyrs nonetheless. This is the first time I've ever had a quintuple charge. He had 5 things charge my 1 unit of martyrs. His Exemplar Hunter, his 2 beasts, his Exemplar Forsaker, and his Horde. That is a ton of stuff. Now, the Horde is now hindered because they are partially landed in the forest. Everything else is fine. The characters and the beasts rolled like total crap. I think he did just a couple of wounds between all 4 of those things, and he really should have done more. The Horde did on average, but they're hindered, so it wasn't much. At any rate, they're at 14 wounds now, and they're a 22 nerve with Inspiring nearby and cannot be wavered. So this is a fantastic result for me. I felt bad for him because I don't like it when a game is turned by rolls like that, but I've had some bad rolls during this game as well. So at any rate, that's what happens. So everything just has to back up an inch, and now I see a glimmer of hope for saving this game for a tie. Just really worked out well. Not much else happened in this turn, other than he did kill my recon troop with his shooting. Unfortunately, in my turn, they aren't able to answer back. My Exemplar Redeemer charges the Horde by himself and does manage to take them out, so that's fantastic. But I really expected my Martyr Horde to take something out because all his stuff was so wounded. I charged the beast in the middle there, and I think I just added a couple of wounds, but I botched the nerve check. So he botched his nerve check, I botched mine. That's just the way it goes sometimes. But that's unfortunate because now I'm sitting there and I'm pretty wounded. But hopefully they did regenerate a few wounds, and hopefully they can last a little bit longer. That beast is wavered, and so he'd have to hit me with his other things. My hunter finally killed something. He charged one of the artillery and took it out. And then again, my green martyr horde just kind of sitting put up top there thinking they're holding 2 objectives. So in his turn, instead of charging my martyrs, he opts to shoot at them and does several wounds. I think his siege artillery hit again, and So yeah, he does several wounds and is able to take them out finally. And he's got the 2 beasts and his hunter on the horse and his exemplar Forsaker. So he's got enough to control a few objectives. Still, I don't think I realized that the one up top is contested. So I really only have one objective with my martyrs, while he's holding 2 currently. So not much happens here, but I realize that I think maybe in discussing this now, I realize what I need to do, and those beasts are so close to being dead, I just need to finish them off. So I need to get lucky and throw some attacks at them. As you can see, that's what I do, and I do get lucky. Or, they're pretty wounded, so I take my hunter, and this is why I say it was lucky that he was on that side of the board, because being a flyer, he was able to fly down to the top beast, and then my exemplar redeemer got the bottom beast. So they both rolled well, did a few wounds, and then rolled a solid nerve check on them both, and they were both gone. So this is a great outcome for me in this turn, because now he's only got 1 unit to move and hold an objective. Again, the siege artillery is contesting that top objective, but I don't think I had even realized it yet at this point still, and I'm thinking, man, I might actually win this game. But that was the bottom of turn 6, and so he went ahead and rolled for 7th turn, and we got it. So he's going to see if he can do anything against that martyr horde with his shooting. Not likely, but we'll see. And it wasn't meant to be. So he did, I think he hit with the grenades. He might have even hit with the siege, but only did 5 wounds. And they cannot be wavered or anything, so they're fine. And then his exemplar Forsaker just has to sit down there and hold that objective. He's hiding behind the forest. I can't see or charge him. So in my turn, there's nothing I can do. I can't move my martyrs, or I'm going to uncontest the top objective and lose the bottom objective. I couldn't move forward and get those 2 center objectives. There wasn't enough space. And I can't see his Forsaker, so I can't do anything about that one. So we just ended right here and agreed that this was a draw. Fantastic outcome for me. At the end of turn 2, I thought I was doing really well and had a chance to win. But in the next 2 turns, as things unfolded, I realized it was a big mistake allowing him to get flyers behind me to where I didn't have any of my units threatening the areas. That's something I just need to be more aware of and more careful of. It wasn't even on my mind that he could do that. Even though I've got flyers and I can do that too, I just I guess it doesn't occur to me. So that's just something in gaining some experience in playing these games. I think I would have preferred to have one of my martyr hordes hang back a little bit and be able to face that corner of the board for when he did that. But, some of it's up to the dice and how they rolled, and at times in my favor, at times not. But really still just love this list. I'm really enjoying it. It has no shooting, no magic. One of my biggest things about the Brotherhood that I don't like is that they have no access to Bane Chant. I'm really trying to avoid using allies, so I don't want to go through the side door to get Bane Chant. But in the Brotherhood list, there is no Bane Chant. And I really think it's the best spell in the game. It just gives you that little edge that you need in certain combats. And I could see how the Brotherhood list would benefit hugely from it. There's a lot of knights, a lot of units that rely on Thunder's Charge, and Thunder's Charge is lost very easily, either from being disordered or hindered. And then, a unit like the Martyr's Horde, throw Bane Chant on them and they would just be ridiculous. So, I absolutely love the Martyrs. I'm still on the fence about the Order of Redemption, but everything else about my list I feel pretty good about. And it's done well in this tournament. This was round 4 of the tournament. My first game I won. My second game I lost. That was a narrow win, then a narrow loss. My third game I tabled my opponent, which gains me extra points in the tournament. And then this game was a draw. So, much better than I thought I was going to do. I don't think I'd even played this list before I got in the tournament, maybe one game. And so it was kind of learning as I went with the list, but I've just been really surprised by it, and I really like it. I should have some battle reports coming soon of live games, and I've been working on my modeling and painting for this same list. So I'm using a lot of Games Workshop Empire models. I know that the Brotherhood is kind of like translated from Bretonnia, but at first I was playing Kingdoms of Men and I switched to Brotherhood, and I don't know, the models still work. But I am going with my Griffin theme, so I'll have some pictures and things up on the forums and hopefully get a battle report with them in here soon. I did play a live game last weekend, and I took some pictures, but the pictures were total crap. And honestly, our scenery and stuff wasn't very good looking, so I just didn't feel like making a battle report for that one. I don't think it would be very good quality. So I hope you enjoyed this battle report, and please do leave a comment, give me some feedback, let me know what you'd like to see more or less of, and just what you think about the format, especially if you have any comments on tactics or lists or anti-flyer tactics, that sort of thing. So thanks for watching. See you next time.